This is the Revolt RV BlazeX, Revolt's newest entry in the commuter segment. Now in terms of pricing, this costs rupees 1,14,000 and sits right below their top tier flagship, the RV 400. What do you get for that money? Well, now in terms of design, this shares a lot with the RV1 Plus. However, it takes a slightly different approach. For example, the suspension over here has been changed for a higher payload capacity. So now you have a payload capacity of 250 kilos. And they've also changed the chain, they've also changed the motor. Even though it uses the same battery as the rest of the Revolts, the motor over here is new. Now Revolt claims that you have an IDC range of about 150 kilometers, and this also gets a removable battery, which we'll get to in a bit. But what else is new in terms of features? You get a 6-inch LCD, which is also compatible with navigation. You can use geofencing and a few other features here and there through the app. You also get 3 riding modes. You've got City, Sport and Eco. You also have a reverse function over here, which we'll get to in a bit. But so far, this is what it's like. It's available in 2 colors. Now in terms of build quality, even though this is not exactly on the expensive end of the spectrum, there is still a little bit left to be desired. For example, over here, the charging socket, this feels like a bit of an afterthought, and it looks like you're one hard yank away from, making it come loose. And the wiring around here also doesn't feel that expensive. The button quality, it's a bit soggy. It's not the best feeling overall. Additionally, the absence of a traditional start button means riders need to be extra cautious when starting this motorcycle. Now to talk about the removable battery. So you can access it from the side over here. You press this, it gives you a nice amount of storage over here. So in case you need to keep your wallet, some documents, your phone, this is large enough that you can remove it. And yeah, this is the storage tray. This is how much you can fit in here. Now for the battery, it's a bit of a 2-step process. You put the key over here, undo it from here, unlock it, unplug it first, and then, and that's how it comes off. This battery is really heavy. It weighs about 20 kilos. So if you're somebody that lives in a society and you plan to take this home and charge it, and you don't have an elevator in your society, well, I'm sure by the end of your ownership, you're going to be a very fit individual, because it takes a lot of effort to lift this battery out and put it back inside. But I guess that's what you get. In case you don't want to take it upstairs, you can always just use the socket over here. Now you get a 3.24 kilowatt battery over here that produces 4 kilowatt of peak output. It produces 45 Nm at the motor and about 180 Nm at the wheel. So the company claims that you can get, with a standard charger, you can get a charging time of 3 hours 30 minutes, that's from 0 to 80, and about 1 hour and 20 minutes with a fast charger from 0 to 80. It's also worth noting that the fast charger is priced at rupees 14,500 if purchased separately. However, if you opt for it at the time of buying the bike, you can trade in the standard charger and get the fast charger for just rupees 4,500. Now coming back to design, a lot of what you see over here is not standard. So for example, the fly screen that you see over here, that's an accessory. The little stickering on the wheels that you see here, that's an accessory. And this guard over here is also an accessory. We haven't been given prices for these just yet, but I know these are accessories. So all in all, it has the commuter look. It's got a nice long seat. I'll tell you what it's like. I'm about 6 feet for reference, and it's quite easy for me to flat foot this motorcycle. Plenty of room over here. Now before we go out and ride it, it's worth mentioning that we haven't been given access to roads to ride this. This is not registered just yet. We've only been given this little go-kart track over here. So I won't be able to paint the complete picture of what this suspension truly feels like. But I should be able to give you a gist until we get this back in Mumbai and we will properly test it over there. Alright, after a handful of laps around this little track over here, I think I've got the gist of what this bike feels like. And truth be told, this suspension setup is actually quite comfortable. There are a few bumps around this track, and I tried to hit them as fast as I possibly could, and it absorbed them with no issues whatsoever. So ride quality is surprisingly nice. Seat comfort too, with a thick bolstered seat over here, is actually quite decent. You don't have any issues with it. It's quite well padded. So that's quite nice. My issue with the BlazeX, however, is the throttle. So I tried in all different modes. So this problem seems to persist in all 3 modes. The throttle response for a technical track like this is just not right. It takes a bit of getting used to, and you find yourself, more often than not, you're just relying on open and closing, you cannot really modulate your throttle input nearly as much.
On the track, the throttle calibration feels imprecise, sometimes inconsistent, or even sluggish in its response. This is a bit concerning as to how it will perform in the real world.
This gets a disc brake at the front and the rear, and it doesn't have ABS, it has a combined braking system. All in all, works surprisingly well. I managed to gain as high as the speedo indicated 70 kph down the street over there. I slammed on the brakes and it has good feedback and it comes to a halt surprisingly fast. So no complaints with the brakes, no complaints with the ride quality. The motor also feels very good. My only gripe being the throttle and some areas of fit and finish. And despite having a low power output of just 4.1 kilowatt, this motor has surprising pull to it. You know, it does have a bit of kick to it, and it's actually nice and it can feel engaging too. So for its price, if you're looking for a commuter, if you're looking for something that's a bit more pocket friendly, eco-conscious, is going to do all your commuting duties, has good suspension, has a nice long seat, perhaps this could be your pick.